Hey, come see us on tour. We'll be in Duluth, Georgia, Jacksonville, Florida, Los Angeles, Tempe, Arizona, and Burbank, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets. So I don't know if you're familiar with this podcast.
That's our podcast.
Yeah. So it's called Two Nice Jewish Boys. And
that's us in Bizarro World.
So I want to play this since you both have been Jewish all your life.
He's half.
And I just wanted to play this for you. And I'm kind of shocked at this and shocked that this is how people in Israel think, because the Jews here I know don't think like this. But here we are.
What we're doing in Gaza. Because in Gaza, maybe there's mass destruction, but there's not massive death.
Or deportation.
Yeah, there's no deportation because they're all dead.
No,
anyway,
not at all.
Here we go.
Anyway, so, when you sit on your high horse.
No, the people who are sitting on their high horse are the police trampling Hasidic Jews in Israel. That's
right.
Weird. That's weird.
And, I'm sure I don't mean to belittle our listeners. We love you guys. But if you're listening to our words and saying, how could they be advocating to, do massive bombing, indiscriminate bombing, how could they talk about killing children? We're not advocating to target children, but forgive us if we don't give a shit.
Forgive me if we don't forgive you for not giving a shit. How about that? The entire world is kind of woken up now simultaneously to the fact that you aren't the royalty that your mother told you were.
And I have to tell you, there are plenty of American Zionists who think this way. This is not unique to Israelis.
So let's a little bit more. Here we go.
Everybody there dies. It's just the way we feel. It's just the way Israelis feel.
Yeah.
Because, and this is what that's what the Chulon attack did. I wrote to Sharon, my wife. I was like, it'll be you or me tomorrow, or Daniela or Itai, God forbid.
Yep.
And so I would, if you gave me a button to just erase Gaza, every single living being in Gaza would no longer be living tomorrow, I would press it in a second. That's just, I think most Israelis
if
probably
that's
agree.
The choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, even if it's not like right now.
Yeah, no.
I would press it right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and same with the territories.
I would press it right now.
Mm-hmm.
No choice. No, Sharon is safe at home. God willing, I don't know. I haven't spoken to her in like an hour.
No, I'm saying for the chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would press it right now. Give me that button and press it right now.
There you go.
And I think most Israelis would.
Yeah. Most Jewish Israelis.
They wouldn't post. They wouldn't talk about it like I am.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't post. They wouldn't say I pressed it.
Yeah.
But they would.
They don't have balls of steel like you.
They would, but they would press it, right? Like if they were in a closet alone, they wouldn't even hesitate.
Mm-hmm.
Someone came to them and said, "No one will know. You press this, all the Palestinians are gone." You'd be like, "Fucking hey, is there another one?"
So that's real. I want to play one more, and then I want to get your response.
0 people in Israel, if you go up to them and you're like, do you care if this baby in Gaza gets polio? They'll be like, I don't fucking just.
If Oppenheimer would care.
Yeah, okay. There'll be like 20 people who care, and they're all wearing Meretz shirts. Like, fuck them. But seriously, nobody would give a shit. They'd be like, leave me alone, man. I'm trying to buy
Eat ice
shit
cream
for Shabbat. Fuck off. I don't care about this Gazan kid with polio. Also,
as long as they're in their Nakba state in their tents, and we're living still, if you put aside the news, day to day is okay. Yesterday we went to a concert in Ayalkon Park. We had lots of fun, me and my girlfriend, Shalom Chanoch. We danced. And it was amazing, and you can't help but think it's nice to know that you're dancing in a concert while hundreds of thousands of Gazans are,
homeless,
like sitting in a tent and eating.
Makes it even better.
Yeah,
more enjoyable concert. If only they put the
live video
footage of Gaza. Like, but seriously, you guys like that. That's what people don't understand. Look, like I know that you guys might be appalled by this, some of the listeners, but seriously, this is how Israelis feel. And you might think that Eitan Weinstein and Naor, who like refuses to kind of back me up on it publicly.
I'm from the UN.
Yeah, he's the UN. But you might think I'm extreme. But I have conversations with lots of people, coworkers, friends. People enjoy knowing that they are suffering.
No, also it's very prominent on Twitter.
That is the weirdest thing I think I've ever heard. That we could be at a music festival, we enjoy knowing that they're suffering. So let me just again, this is all mind blowing to me. Like I can't really get over it. I can't wrap my mind around it. So go. I'll give it to my two nice Jewish boys on my show, and they can respond to the two nice Jewish boys.
Well, these are psychologically damaged people. These are clearly broken people. And this is a point that Russ makes better than I do. So I figured I'd tee that up for you in case you want to catch that pitch. But you could take it your own way. And then I have a slightly different angle on this. But go ahead.
Yeah, I had seen the first clip. I didn't see the second clip. Yeah, that is just incredibly sick. What's really remarkable about these disgusting Nazi pigs is that they think that they are fighting anti-Semitism when these people are like they're like a bomb of anti-Semitism. These people are Typhoid Mary of anti-Semitism. It is, how do people watch that? And if you don't know about Jews, you don't know Jewish people who are not rabid Zionists, they have spent decades, they've spent almost a century inculcating people around the world with the idea that Jews are Zionists and Zionists are Jews, that there is no daylight between those things. So what are people to make of the Jewish people if they are convinced that Zionists are by definition Jews and Jews are by definition Zionists when they hear something so sick, so satanic as this? Now, I cannot recommend this book highly enough. I urge everybody who wants to understand how these two disgusting people with these kinds of views would feel comfortable expressing this on the air as if it's funny, as if that's okay to say things like that, even if they harbor it. If you want to understand how they got there, read 10 Myths About Israel by Ilan Pappé. That will really explain to you that this demonic, this satanic, this genocidal Israeli state is not something that happened over time. It's not something that happened after October 7th. This is what the Zionist project has always been. This is why most Jews, until after the Holocaust, opposed the idea of resettling in Israel. The people who actually first promoted this were British Zionists like Lord Palmerston in the 1840s, who partly wanted to put Jews in Palestine for the same reason that we like them there now, because as RFK said, there are aircraft carrier in that region. We use them as a military base, essentially, for operations. We use their intelligence services to manipulate that region, to inform on the other countries in that region. It was also anti-Semitism. These Christian Zionists didn't like Jews. They thought a very good solution to that problem would be send them back where they came from. Send them back to Palestine. Send them over there. And that way, it's win-win. They can live over there. We don't have to have any Jews polluting Europe. And they can act as our agents in the Middle East. And that is very much the function they still serve. Now, if you look at the early inception of Zionism, the early projects, Ben Gurion, who was the first prime minister of Israel, when he first got there, he didn't like that Zionists were working with and often for Arabs. He didn't like that. He didn't want them to have that kind of economic and social interaction. Why? Because Zionism was always envisioned as a project of ethnic cleansing at best and genocide at worst. You can't genocide people that you have a close relationship with, that you work for. They work for you. You can't have that. So like any cult, he made a point of breaking those relationships between the native Arabs who lived in the region and the Zionist settlers who were coming in. Every opportunity they've ever had, from the 1967 war to the 1973 war to the Oslo so-called peace process, every opportunity they've had to create a pretext to kill more Palestinians and steal more of their land, they've taken that opportunity while crying victim. So when you look at these two, they have been convinced, brainwashed, and indoctrinated that these Palestinians are Nazis, that they're the Nazis, that they're the Nazis who did these things to their ancestors, that they have unreasoning hatred of Jews, that the Jews, every Zionist you talk to thinks that Israel has constantly tried to make peace with them and offer them reasonable settlements, and they've only been repaid with violence. It's a complete distortion of history. But that is what they believe. That is what they've been brainwashed to believe. So where they're coming from is they have been convinced that they're surrounded by Nazis who won't take any peace offer that is given. So, well, what else do? Well, you have to kill them all.
Well, and the reason I say they're psychologically broken, I mean, that's a broken person who would say a thing like that. That's not a normal person who would say things like that. And they went on for a whole hour, which I'll get to in a short moment. But they have projected onto the Palestinian people the evil that was perpetrated against their ancestors. They feel great generational shame. Shame has been passed down from their ancestors. A lot of men in the camps felt very emasculated and deballed by the fact that they were not able to effectively fight back against the Nazis, that they were not able to protect their families from the Nazis. And the way they feel strong now is to take that anger and that rage and that sense of failure out on a population that cannot defend itself. And that's what I mean. Like that is just a person with something broken inside that would say a thing like that. Now, the point I have to make here, this episode here, this whole podcast, the Two Nice Jewish Boys podcast, I'm a little bit conflicted as to how to approach this, because if there's two things in this world I can't stand, it's Israel and censorship. I hate both of those things with a passion. And I cannot, on principle, advocate for the deplatforming of these guys, but it does have to be said. These video clips are from a podcast that is up on YouTube as we speak, on a channel that is fully monetized as we speak. Now, you're going to tell me that if we said what they are saying about Israel, we wouldn't be thrown off YouTube in a minute?
Right.
If we said this shit about Israel, our channels would be down in half a day.
Yep. In half an hour.
Half an hour. Half an hour.
If I could push a button and kill everyone in Israel, I would. That would be the end of the channel.
That's the end of the channel. That's the end of the channel. Now, look, in principle, I can't advocate for their censorship. They have a right to say whatever disgusting shit they want, and we have a right to give our take. So I can't, on principle, advocate for them to be shut down. But the unfairness of it is striking. I mean, Richard Medhurst got his channel demonetized right after October 7th. Jackson Hinkle's been thrown off of YouTube entirely for telling the truth about the Ukraine war. These two pieces of garbage can say, who cares if babies die of polio, and if I could push a button and kill everyone in Gaza and nothing happens? Nothing happens? That's not hate speech? That's not, look, you could argue there's no such thing as hate speech, right? That's a sound argument. Hate speech is a construct to justify censorship. So you could say that. But as long as YouTube has hate speech rules, are you kidding? Are you kidding?
So the only good thing is that if there was if they were censored like everybody else is censored on YouTube, I would never know that these people think like this.
Well, no, absolutely. That's why you're right. I'm not advocating for that. I'm just pointing out the inconsistency.
It's very useful to me to know what we're actually dealing with. Like that is so far beyond anything honest that you could press a button and wipe out an entire, like that, women, children, babies, doesn't matter.
Because understand, they have been convinced that they are surrounded by the spiritual heirs of the Nazi Party. That is how they've been brainwashed from birth to think.
It's like the Democrats in America are convinced they're fighting Hitler and Stalin,
yes,
and Pol Pot and Trump, right? Yep. So any horrible thing they can do, no matter how unconstitutional it is okay, because we're fighting an existential evil, and so they've been convinced of that. So that just goes back to I hate to interject it, but Carl Jung talks about that, when one nation goes to war with another nation, we project our shadow onto that nation. And that's exactly, you see it's inside them. So they're just as Nazified as the people they claim to be. I mean, that's when you be, there's a saying, forget who said it, but maybe it was Nietzsche, but when fighting monsters, make sure you don't become a monster yourself.
Yes.
And that's exactly what they've come. They become the thing they think they're fighting. They become if you stare into the abyss long enough, the abyss will stare back into you. Be careful not to become a monster when you're fighting monsters. And that's exactly, they don't see what's happened to them. And here's one more
these soldier guards in the prison camp. There were allegations that they sodomized October 7th terrorists, stuck things up their butt. And there was apparently video. The video came out this week, and we'll talk about it in detail. But what's amazing to me is the fact that the left is treating these situations. Let's take it at face value. Let's say some prisoner guards, soldiers, took a big, sharp, like
scythe,
porcupine dildo with barbed wire around it and shoved it up this guy's ass.
Without lube.
Are you really going to play the "oh, poor guy" card? How could we do this?
Well,
that's a fraction of what the person deserves. Seriously. Like, where is your morality? Where is your morality when you like you're enraged by it? You know what I mean? You say Barak Ravid tweeted, "We've reached the rock bottom of Israeli discourse," because some guy was saying they deserved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how they should be executed, by shoving too large of an object up their butts.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen.
Of course, but
No, it's not going to happen.
So wistfully.
Well, when the IDF soldiers got caught raping the Palestinian prisoner, there was that clip that went somewhat viral on Israeli TV. One of the media stations did a poll. Is it justified for IDF soldiers to rape Palestinian prisoners? And a plurality of Israelis said, yes, it is. 47% said, yes, it is justified. 43% says, no, it isn't. So actually, the most important takeaway from what these guys are saying is the true fact of what they're saying, which is that most Israelis don't disagree with them. They say over and over again throughout this podcast, hey, I don't care if a baby dies of polio, and neither do most people in Israel. I don't care if they have an object shoved up their ass, neither do most people in Israel. That's true. That's true. These guys are actually not the exception in Israel. They are the rule. They are the norm. And that's why, Jimmy, what you said, I agree with 100%. If they were censored, we wouldn't know this kind of sentiment exists in such widespread fashion, and we couldn't give our take on it. We couldn't talk back against it. So don't get me wrong. I do not advocate for them to be censored. I believe very strongly, what's the old adage, the solution to bad speech is more speech. Right.
So, yes.
And so I think that's true here.
And again, I have to, this came up when George Bush was torturing people in the war on terror, which again, we're the terrorists. The reason why you don't torture someone is not because that person isn't a bad person, but because you're not supposed to be a torturer. Right. That's the whole, you're supposed to think, if you go down to that level, now there's no difference. And the reason why you don't torture isn't because of that person, but because you respect yourself, and you respect a certain code of behavior. And if someone so now you're saying someone else can make me become the most ugliest, disgusting, immoral thing in the world because they're bad. That's not how it's supposed to work. Anyway, anything else you'd like to add to this?
Yeah, what I would love to add to that is the other part of not torturing people is what a healthy society does is they don't choose to inflict pain for pain's sake. In other words, the point of attacking someone who means you harm is to defend yourself from harm. You're not supposed to get off on causing another person excruciating pain.
Right.
But this is why I say these people are broken people. These are fucked up people. They're not normal people. They feel that a great pain was inflicted upon them going back generations, and so they get off on inflicting pain on others, and they're such fucking cowards that they have chosen to push around a population that cannot fight back because the world will not allow them to. The world will not allow them to. You can get in a lot of trouble for saying things 1% as vile as that. If you say it in defense of the Palestinian resistance, you can't even touch that with a 10-foot pole on these big tech platforms. They'll throw your ass off. These fucking assholes can go up here and straight up advocate for torture and genocide and killing babies with polio, and apparently nothing happens.
Well, remember, they have been brainwashed into believing that their enemy tortures, that their enemy, no matter what, is completely implacable. So what else do you do with an enemy like that? What passes for liberal in Israel is the idea that it's not the fault of the Palestinians, it's the fault of their leadership. So basically, if a bunch of Chinese came and took Queens and people in Manhattan and the Bronx started fighting back, by this logic, they're barbarians. They're wrong. They're savages to want to fight back and take their land. And that is how the Israelis see it. They are savages. They've taken almost 90% of the land that originally belonged to the Palestinians. And when they send a firecracker over the fence, they're barbarians. They're savages. They can't be reasoned with.
Hey, come see us on tour. We'll be in Duluth, Georgia, Jacksonville, Florida, Los Angeles, Tempe, Arizona, and Burbank, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets.